Good afternoon, Seawolves, and welcome to this week's edition of Stony Brook Sports Break. I'm Jim Fershwin. The men's and women's cross-country teams ran at regionals last Friday at Van Cortlandt Park. The terrain was tough, but the women finished in 10th place overall. Runner Christina Melian qualified and will be running at nationals in Indiana this Saturday. For the men, they finished 11th overall after winning the America East Championship last weekend. And here with us in the studio is runner Cameron Avery. Thanks for being here, Cameron.
No problem, Jim. It's awesome to be here.
All right, so congratulations on winning the America East Championship. So what specifically did you guys do to get there?
So this year we knew with such an inexperienced team full of freshmen, we needed to transition from the high school aspect of running. We needed to go away from the individual aspect and start thinking about the team itself. So we all focused on becoming one as a family, both on and off the course, and it really paid dividends for us on Saturday.
There was tough conditions there at regionals, so what was the atmosphere like there?
It was absolutely electric. There were over 250 runners on the line, a huge number of teams. Everybody wanted it so badly, and so many teams trying to get to regionals, to nationals, sorry, and it was just unlike anything we've ever experienced before.
And you guys were very successful, so did you guys prepare any differently from any other race? Because even though this was regionals, this was something pretty big, so was there any different preparation?
Not really. We obviously knew that we're going to need to step it up from even conferences. Even though we had a great race, we needed to step it up again because the quality just went up. But overall, it's just another race, and we needed to keep that in mind when we were running.
Your coach, Andy Ronan, what did he say to you guys before the race even started? Did he give you any wise words of advice?
So he pretty much told us to keep our heads, because it's so easy in a race that big to just completely lose everything and just start running emotionally. He told us we needed to keep the emotions in check and really just focus on getting with our group that we needed to be with and then running with them for the entirety of the race.
The atmosphere there, you said, was electric, but what were the challenges there while you guys were competing?
There was a lot of wind on the course, a lot of wind. Luckily, the wind was going pretty much the right direction, so it was at our back almost the whole time, because it would have been a long 10K otherwise. But apart from that, I mean, just the quality of runners was huge, and that was a challenge in itself. And the fact that we were at the end of a long season, so a lot of racing under our belts, tired legs, just getting to the line itself was a success on the day. And
you said it was a long season, so what were the biggest improvements that you made from the beginning and especially to the end of the season when you guys were successful?
So again, with such an inexperienced team, we just had to, this season we had nothing to lose. It was all about seeing where we were so that in the next few years we can really build on that, so we can be a top team in the region, top team in the country, hopefully. So at the start of the season, everybody was just getting adjusted to the conditions, getting adjusted to the training. And at our first big race in Lehigh for the Paul Short Run, 300 and something people in the line, we get out so slow. We did not get out as we wanted to, and we were swallowed up, spat out the back. Every race we improved on that. Princeton, we got out really hard, maybe a little bit too much, and we improved on that at conferences, got out perfectly, and did the same pretty much at regionals. So it was all about taking small improvements each race and building on them.
All right, so you guys were victorious in the regionals. You're a freshman. You're from New Zealand. So why'd you come here, and how's the school treated you so far?
The school's been great. I chose to come here because there's been a lot of successful New Zealanders come here in the past. The Van Dalen twins, Eric Speakman, who just left last year. My friend Holly Manning is a sophomore here, and she was regional rookie of the meet in the indoor season last year. And just through all those people, I got a really good feel of the school, even though I'd never been here myself. And then when I arrived, everyone's just been so inviting, so opening, and it's been the most amazing home away from home.
Well, my last question for you will be, so now that you guys set the bar pretty high winning in cross country, what are we expecting for next season?
Next season, I think you can expect to see some bigger things. With such a young team, we've got another guy coming back, Mike Watts, who's our unofficial captain. He'll be back as a junior, and we don't have a single guy on our team who doesn't have another year. We're probably the youngest team in the Div 1 right now, probably the youngest travelling team anyway. We only have one junior on our squad, so that just bodes so well for the future. We're going to be next year looking at maybe even national qualification if we can get some good points through the season. So yeah, next year definitely pushing up there, then the year after nationals, we're going for it.
All right, so it's just a stepping stone to bigger things. All right, thank you, Cameron, for joining us.
No problem.
Congrats on a great season.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to go and turn it over to another fall sport whose season is coming to an end this week, and that's football. It was senior day for the Seawolves. There's long snapper Kevin Fennell hugging his dad Martin, and there's Tim Keith getting some love from Coach Priori. We're going to jump to the first quarter. Maine driving up the field. Running back Josh Mack will take care of the rest from 12 yards out. Maine strikes 7-0. Mack finished with 157 yards rushing. We'll jump to the second quarter. Bears up 13-0, and Dan Collins with a 2-yard fade route to Jared Azuma for the score to make it 20-0 Maine just before the half. In the third quarter, Joe Carbone lines up behind center and then drops back in the shotgun, awaiting the snap. And it's a tough one, but hands it off to Donald Leontine, the local kid out of Medford, for the 1-yard score to make it 27-7. But the Seawolves still have a lot of work to do. And that brings us to our play of the week with Chris Gaine. Chris?
Thanks, Jim. Stony Brook was down 27-14 early in the fourth quarter, and Donald Leontine takes it, and no one can even touch him. 50 yards to the house, doing a little Ezekiel Elliott impression right there. That was the longest run of Leontine's college career, and his 94 yards on the day were a season high. Not bad for a guy who's a walk-on. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Chris. And the comeback kids' efforts stopped there. The score would remain the same, and Stony Brook loses their last home game of the season, 27-21. And with that loss, Stony Brook is eliminated from playoff contention for a third straight year. This past Friday, new banners were unveiled in the Island Federal Credit Union Arena. The men's basketball team earned their way to the NCAA tournament after making history season last year. Although they lost their first game of the regular season against Columbia, after the ceremony, maybe the constant reminder will give them motivation to make it back to the tourney this year. The women's basketball team also has yet to get a win this season, losing tight matchups to Iona and Hofstra this past weekend. But there's plenty of opportunities left. Let's throw it back over to Chris to find out when their next game, along with some more upcoming games this week. Chris?
Thanks, Jim. The Seawolves Sports Weekend starts in a big way. The Syracuse women's basketball team will be coming to Stony Brook to take on the Seawolves. That's a big get for a home game for Stony Brook. And on Saturday, the football team will be playing on the road against Albany at 1. Neither of these teams are in playoff contention, but whenever the Seawolves and Great Danes play each other, we know there's bragging rights on the line. And the weekend caps off on Sunday with Stony Brook going to Boston to take on Boston College. That's another big conference matchup, and it would be a huge win for Stony Brook to get after their disappointing loss with Columbia. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Chris. Now we'll get into men's soccer. Stony Brook hosting number 5 Hartford. The Seawolves defeated Hartford already this season, but the Red Hawks had other plans. Here's Mike Berry with a nice cross to the middle for Hartford, and it finds the feet of Jerry Triron. But Stony Brook's Tom McMahon says, "Not in my net." He makes the tremendous save. Now we go late into the first half. This free kick from the foot of Alexi Tradias finds the head of Ari Jonasson, and the Hawks steal the momentum up 1-0. Later, Vince Eridai is able to take the cross from Makdara Hinu, tries to match with under 10 minutes. However, Hartford would have the last laugh in the 85th minute. Kelechi Akajobi keeps it away and sets up the beautiful pass to Bastion Stretch for the score, and Hartford advances to the America East Final. And that's all we have for this week's edition of Stony Brook Sports Break. Make sure you tune in 2 weeks from now to recap how Stony Brook sports did over Thanksgiving break. Have a great day, Stony Brook. I'm Jim Furchland.